Yo, it's me, Dee Will. Let's go. I'm back and I'm better than ever. You shady bitches so working could never. I'm sitting back on my throne. I was never a shown. You lazy bitches gonna end up on a tombstone. But come back one heavy. They said I couldn't do it, but I stay ready. I'm in the kitchen cooking scratch spaghetti. And I'm a bougie. Cut the music. Cut the music. Cut the music. Hey y'all, this is Dee Will from Goops Gags and Tea with Dee. And if this is your first time listening to me, welcome! It's a ton of space around here, y'all. The more the merrier. Go enjoy all of my other wacky episodes, but just make sure to listen to the show from the very first episode, which is the prelude. But if you're listening to this episode on the day it originally released and you've tuned into my shows prior, then congrats! You have officially listened to my very first full week of shows. And I want y'all to know that I am super appreciative and truly love the support. But as you can tell, I like a production, darling. I work really hard on my craft, and this episode is no different. But during this episode, not my guest, experienced extreme technical difficulties. And due to the transparency and rawness of our episode, we both decided to still release what I think is my best episode yet. Don't worry, Don Delicious Dee will return. So sit back, relax, learn, and enjoy the show.
Welcome back to Goops Gags and Tea with Dee. I am your hostess with the mostest, Dee Will, and welcome to the second episode of the Alphabet Club. Now, y'all, if you're listening to this clearly means that you've listened to the first ever episode of Tea with Dee, which happens on Mondays, and then, of course, you had to listen to Write Me Bitch on Wednesdays. So I just wanted to continue the special week and just drop my very first guest on the show, Mr. Sampson McCormick. Everybody, welcome to the show.
Yay! It's so good to be here. Thank you for having me on your show, and thank you for what you do. You know, I like to put a lot of emphasis on how important it is for us to tell our stories and for us to represent who we are. So I'm happy to be here being a part of what you're doing.
Thank you. Okay,
yeah, thank you for having me on.
I want you to know that when I read the email, number one, I had to read it like 10 times because I did not believe. I was like, wait a minute, no, this can't be true. So I had to had somebody else read. I was like, well, is this real? It was like, I think this is real. Did a little search. I was like, oh my God. So yes, I am so humbled and I'm so appreciative that you agreed to be on this little piece of shit ass show. I really do appreciate it.
Not a piece of shit. It's not a piece of shit. If it was a piece of shit, I wouldn't be here and you wouldn't be doing it. So you over there, you got it going on and you got to own it. And I wish more of us would do things like this.
Oh, don't make me cry. I'm very emotional. Listen, if you're listening to the show, you know that I am so emotional. I would literally cry. Okay, please don't make me cry. All right. So,
are you one of those type of emotionals that ride over to the Bay's house if he ain't acting right, leave them tires on the ground?
Actually, no. I'm not the crazy emotional. I'm more.
You like lifetime movie emotional. Like you look at movies and cry and stuff. And
yes.
Like snuggle up
Yes.
And eat
I am the secluded emotional. I like to sit at home in the dark and cuddle and cry from things that happened 3 years ago.
Oh my God. We're going to have to get you out that cubby hole.
Right. Listen, through my research, amongst the already things that I've known about you, you're much more talented than I thought. Before, of course, the email exchange. So you're on the show because you are a director, you are a comedian, you are an actor, you are an activist. You're literally everything that I aspire to be. So I want you to know that you are an inspiration to me. And then I also want you to know you're an inspiration to the people that are listening to this gay ass show. So
thank you.
Thank you so much. So before we get into the meat and potatoes of this episode, in the Alphabet Club, I really want to create a space of inclusivity. So I want you to tell me what are your pronouns, because my pronouns are he, him, and they. So what are yours?
My pronouns are he, him, and Beyonce. No, I'm just playing.
Listen, you want to embrace that? Listen, you want me to call you Beyonce? I'm going to call you Beyonce, okay?
No, it's he and him. You know, I get why people do the pronouns, but thankfully, you know, mine are he and him. Just old-fashioned he and him. Or they. I let people call me they.
I like that. They makes me feel like, you know, I'm that bitch.
An entity, yeah.
Very that. So, I wanted to start this episode with a little icebreaker, okay? So this icebreaker is called this or that, okay? I'm giving you 2 to 3 seconds to respond. You cannot give me a reason. After the game, if you want to go into more details about the reason why you chose that answer, you can, all right? So start the timer. I'm going to put it in post. So start the timer. All right, are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
All right. This is this or that. All right. So first up, grocery outlet or food for less?
Grocery outlet.
First 48 or investigation discovery?
Investigation discovery.
Bidet or urinals?
Bidet. Duh.
Twinks or trade?
Trade.
Color purple or baby boy?
Color purple.
Church boy or the shade of doll?
Oh, church boy.
Church or the barbershop?
The barbershop.
Internet comedy or stand-up comedy?
Stand-up comedy all day.
Grindr or chat?
Jack.
Who's the better roommate, your mom or your sister?
Sister.
Pets or dogs?
Ex-boyfriend. No, I'm just playing. Dogs.
Evergreen or DC?
DC.
Old folks home or jail?
Ooh, jail.
All right, last but not least, I'll give you actually a few more seconds to answer this one, okay?
Okay.
Miss Peaches or Tiger Lily?
Miss Peaches.
What? I can't believe you actually that was a trick question. I didn't think that you were going to answer that one.
Oh, no. I go with it.
I see. All right. So if you clearly, I'm assuming you got the gist of what I was going through. So I deep sea dived into about 90% of your catalog because I just needed to know what was going on. So I realized that there is a running theme within your stand-up comedy. So one of the first topics I wanted to speak about was growing up Black and gay in church. So if you can, I would love to dissect that because I'm clearly Black and gay, but my experience in church wasn't, the norm Southern Black and gay experience because low key, I think my pastor was a lesbian. I'm just saying.
Well, that helps. That helps.
So my experience in church wasn't bad. So how was your experience?
I mean, now to refute that though, a lot of these pastors who are saying these negative things about gay people, especially gay men, are gay men themselves, and they're married, but we don't talk about that. Okay. The reason why I talk so much about the church is because the church is home to Black gay people. We come from the church. We built the church. We're in the choir. We cook the food. We support it the same way we do the Black community. And I had to give it up for my own personal, mental, emotional, spiritual health, because you can't have a pastor who's telling you that your life matters only under certain conditions.
Right.
And it's the reason why so many of us are fucked up now, it's an even harder thing to grapple with when that same person is telling you you're going to hell, but after the service, he wants to eat your ass in the church office. Okay.
Right.
And I say no, and I say that because we don't talk enough about the contradictions and the hypocrisy.
Right.
Those are the things that make real life.
Mm-hmm.
We're taught through the church, right, and through a lot of, because Black people, like we're Democrats mostly, you know, we're fiscally liberal and stuff like that, but we're socially conservative.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We're very 100%. Socially conservative. We are some of the, we're not monolithic. We're not, and I hate people say monolithic. We act like we're closed-minded, right, but it's only because we're taught that our sexual freedom, our freedom of thought, you know, our ability to be and live and experience life as it is goes against some big idea. And if you look at the way we were raised, even, we were raised not to embrace ourselves in our wholeness. You know, like most of us are taught, don't talk back to your mother.
Right.
If you can't talk back to your mom, and not talk back, but say, hey, you know, I don't agree with this. Right. Most of our mothers don't say why. They say, I don't give a fuck. I pay the bills and shut the fuck up and get out my face.
Which is abusive by itself. So abusive.
Well, I don't know because I mean, when my little boyfriend's talking to me like that, it turns me on. So I don't know. But
you know, there's a time and a place for everything. Okay, Sampson?
It is. I know. Okay. You know, I like them. I like my little dudes a little spicy. So you know, I like to get cussed out a little bit. But you know, that's what we're taught. And so when you're taught that, you're taught not to advocate for yourself. Mm-hmm. You're taught not to speak up for yourself. You're taught to accept what you're given. And if you look at the way Black people are treated in this country, it's because we receive that conditioning at home. We receive that conditioning in the church. And so we go through life not challenging things, not asking questions, not bucking authority. And we need to change that.
So my thing is, how do you take that as the talented individual that you are? How do you take all of that vitriol and just all of that negative energy? How do you twist that into something so powerful as comedy? Where did that come from? Where did that transition come from?
I don't know. I mean, I think everybody has something that they're given. I think everybody has, and I'm not one of those people who try to be super deep, but I mean, I do believe everybody has a purpose. Everybody is here for a reason. Mm-hmm. And so a part of mine was some of the things that I went through growing up, some of the things that I've experienced in life have been so awful that in order to make them make sense to myself, I had to make them funny. When you have to sit with some shit that's happened to you growing up, when you have to sit with shit that you deal with in your head in order to deal with it, it's so twisted that you have to make it funny in order to make it make sense. Right. And that's one of those things that helps people. It's also, it's kept me out of a lot of trouble because if I wasn't doing comedy, I would probably be, so many people, like this quarantine on one hand, it's been a blessing. It's allowed me to, you know, because most of us who are out grinding, like grinding, working all the time, busy, on the go, spinning our wheels. Right. This quarantine has allowed me to slow down and take a break from, and I've been doing comedy now for 20 years as a Black gay man in this business.
I don't believe that, okay?
A long ass time. 20 years. 20 years. And it's a challenge. It's very challenging because the entertainment business it's a white boy's game. And then when it comes down to Black folks, opportunities can be limited. So it requires a lot of sacrifice. Mm-hmm. And it requires, whether you want to accept it or not, 2 or 3 times the work that everybody else has to do.
Can we add another layer to that, right? Because a Black creative who I feel like is just starting out, you know, just starting to blossom. I know that navigating the entertainment space or the creator, whatever word you want to put it, I know that navigating in that space is uber difficult because number 1, we're Black, and number 2, we're gay. So
yes. And you're in the entertainment business, which is it's oversaturated. People don't understand it's a business. And so there is a line between the people who understand it's a business and the people who do it because they just think, it's all about being seen. Mm-hmm. In order to succeed in this business, you have to know the business. Mm-hmm. People don't understand that.
So in my research, right, I read an article about how you were up for Queer Eye. Excuse me. Yes, it's called Wait, do you hear me?
Yeah.
Do you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hello? Sampson?
Can you hear me? Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, yes, I heard you. Yes.
I'm here.
Okay, all right, gotcha. All right, so I was reading an article and you were saying that it was, you were up for Queer Eye, the new show that's on Netflix, not the old one, the new one.
Yeah.
And you said that, not verbatim, don't quote me, I don't need to curse you, I didn't say that, but you said that the producers told you that you would need, that basically you were a little too, you were a little too vocal, a little bit too verbal, and you needed to soften the edges. Can you explain to me and the viewers as to why you just didn't do it for the big check and why being true to yourself is very important in the entertainment industry?
Okay, so being true to yourself is important because after you finish a project, you're going to have to continue working. And if you've alienated a group of people that are always going to relate to your work in some capacity, you basically fuck yourself. Mm-hmm. So some people sell themselves out for something in the short run as opposed to looking at what their vision needs to be in the long run. So that might mean sacrificing this here. But say something comes along where they need people to openly and directly express their views living in this country as a Black gay person from the hood, because I'm from Southeast DC.
Hello.
Then you can't turn around and go speak to an audience like that after you basically kind of blew off your authentic experiences. That's why. So you really have to stand with your laws. I mean, there are some things that you can kind of compromise on because that's part of business.
Right.
But when you're talking about, how you're viewed, the things that you stand for, the things that you speak on, you have to have values in that regard. And there are so many people who know the racism that exists in the entertainment business. Mm-hmm. They know the racism that exists in the writers' room. But for a check, and I get it, because those
right, that's what I'm saying. And I feel like it's a big check too.
Those are some good checks. I have watched the person who got the role that I originally had.
Right.
And, I've kind of looked at where his career has gone and his numbers and things like that. Mm-hmm. And it bothered me for a little while because, it would have opened a lot of mainstream doors. But when I have gone back out on the road and I see the people come out to see me and I see the type of engagements they have and I look at the type of work that makes me me, right. I have to do what makes me me. I have to, I can't create a script that tells one story, but the out is shucking and jiving. Yeah, that won't work. People are gonna talk about you either way. Let's get that right. Let's get that on the table. People are always Beyonce is one of the greatest entertainers of our generation, of our lifetime, and people still find things about her. Oh yeah. So people are always going to have things to say, but when it comes down to who you are, you never give people space to challenge that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm not just asking you this. I think it's like a cool or intriguing question to ask. I'm really asking you this because I would like to know how to navigate in this space, only because I might even take this out, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I've already gotten a few things. A few people have reached out to me for some things, and I just feel like they don't necessarily align with who I am, but it will bring a check will bring a nice check to me, and it'll also give me a much bigger platform. But I'm just like, that doesn't really align with my spirit. But to segue really quickly, because I actually meant to bring this up right before this. I couldn't really speak on the experience of being a Black gay, being shunned in church. But what I can speak on, is being Black, gay in the barbershop. Okay? Listen, man. I want you to know that the barbershop has traumatized me. I am now sitting here at 29 years old, and I am still traumatized of the barbershop.
You traumatized from the barbershop?
It is. I am traumatized because of the barbershop. And in one of your specials, which was super hilarious, you said, imagine if you said that the men in the barbershop need to realize that you're Black first, right? And you're gay second.
That's right.
But in those spaces, me personally, I am gay first and Black second. They don't give a fuck about.
Well, that's because I get what you're saying, but I'm going to challenge that a little bit.
Please do.
Black people don't understand that when we leave the house, the world doesn't see gay, they see Black. Okay? And I think that our community believes that in some way we give up Blackness in order to be gay, which is not true, because we can go out. You go out there, because I was living in San Francisco before I moved to LA. And if you go to which most of the gay clubs that are still open are mostly white-owned clubs. They might have a Black night, but if you go out on the scene, 9 times out of 10, you're going to experience some racism in the gay community. So they don't understand. We still deal with the same things in our community. It's just the way that we love is different. But the way that our community deals with sexuality is hypocritical too, because they'll talk about how we love, which we know there's nothing wrong with that. But they won't talk about how some dudes are married, but they got 2 side chicks. They got a whole family across town.
That's actually
they won't talk about. They won't talk about how they got 4 or 5 baby mamas living in one apartment complex, and they got kids running around. They won't even see in that apartment complex they live in. But they won't talk about that. They won't have conversations about that. As a matter of fact, that's considered funny. That's considered masculine. That's considered cool.
Right.
But let a gay couple, a Black gay couple, walk around, contribute to the community, contribute to their families, maybe go to church, try to do the right thing. Being gay cancels all that out. That lets you know we got a lot of stuff that we have to deal with. Our community needs to understand also that we've always been out on the front line. From slavery, even before then, because a lot of people go, the slaves, they were only gay because they would get, butt breaking. Butt breaking. No. I mean, yes, they did that. We can't say that didn't happen, because yes, they did that. A lot of awful things happened to Black people, period. Whether you were a man or a woman or a child or whatever, awful things happen. I'm pretty sure they used broomsticks. I'm sure they, to sexually assault people. I'm sure they did a lot of awful things. But the idea of man on man and girl on girl and transgender sexuality and identity is not new. That's existed with us since
the beginning of time.
Since the beginning. And Black people, yes, we originated in Africa, but we were in Europe. We were in all these different places, and we were doing the same thing we are now. The reason why we believe that bullshit is, number one, the church, and number two, it's because of the psychological conditioning of Black men in our country. That makes us believe that we're less than because we don't have the same wealth. We don't have the same access. A lot of times, we don't have the ability to provide in the more traditional ways for our families. But the ones who do, yes. I do think a lot of homophobia comes from systemic racism.
Wow. Never really thought about that. So I really don't think we really believe that, because back in the day, there's a book actually that
we should pull it up over here. Maybe we should pull that book up. There's a book that you can read, and they trace back to ancient Africa, and there were kingdoms run by lesbian women and gay men, or either, kings and queens, and then maybe the king would go out to fight a battle or something, and he would have a boy with him, and that boy was his servant and kind of like his sex slave.
Oh, wow.
So it's nothing new, and there are books dedicated to the study of that.
And which is even more, this might be a little nasty of me to say, but we even see homosexuality in animals. So which is interesting, mainly lions, for some really bizarre, lions and penguins. So which is really interesting to me is that people ignore the fact that these wild animals are gay.
Exhibit behavior.
They ignore it and say that, oh, it's a choice for us, blah, 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 blah. But when it comes to actual science and biology, it's just like, oh no, let's just completely ignore it. It's really bizarre and weird to me.
Yeah, and that's another issue that I have with religion and I have with the Black churches, because originally the Black church was a pillar of freedom. It was a pillar of education. It was a pillar of community. And now it's basically a pimp game and a pillar of oppression. That's all it is.
Right.
So, they want your money every Sunday. Don't let you grow up in a Black church broke, because they'll read you for being broke. That way you must not be living right.
Broke sissy.
And not just a broke sissy, but if your mama goes there broke, they're going to talk about her.
Right.
They're going to look at her crazy. She doesn't get priority seating in the church. She doesn't get priority parking.
Oh my God, it's a whole democracy in church.
It's a pimp game. There's a church here in LA where if you don't know somebody, or if you don't make a certain type of money, or if you don't have a certain type of status, they basically put you up in the balcony.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of churches operate like that.
Wait, so Simon, you're currently to this day, you're still a church goer. Every Sunday.
I don't go to church.
Oh.
When I first moved to LA, I was going to church, but I didn't go for religious reasons. I went because I needed to be around Black people. And I knew if I went to West Angeles Church of God in Christ, I was going to find them. And I went for the music. I didn't go for any reason other than to be with Black community. And then I moved to Inglewood, South Central. And so now when I go outside, all I see is Black people. It's like incredible.
Well, number one, I've never been to California. So, it was actually on my to-do list this year, but it's complicated. All that up. But so whenever outside opens up properly, I would love to take this trip over to California. But anyway, so speaking on that same breath, I wanted to also dissect the difference and what you think the difference is between, or if there is a difference between Black Lives Matter, right? And all Black Lives Matter.
Absolutely. Black Lives Matter is about Black men. That's what that's about.
Hold up.
If you look at Black Lives Matter, who they defended, and I mean, I get it, because let's say this. I'm going to say this first of all. Black Lives Matter was founded by 3 women, I believe. 2 of them are lesbian.
Yes.
Or queer women. So basically, the Black community took that, and rightfully so, we should be proclaiming that Black Lives Matter, but they basically took that, and when we started having conversations about the fact that there are gay Black men being killed by police too, that nobody said anything about. There are also trans men who got killed by the police that nobody's saying anything.
And no one cares.
Tell us that they don't give a fuck. And Sandra Bland got lucky that anybody said anything about her. I think because they found her hanging in the cell or something like that.
Right, they did. Right, allegedly, she hung herself.
Allegedly,
right.
Allegedly, but that's bullshit. They said she got high. They said she was high on marijuana and she hung herself in her cell. And I said, I'm gonna tell you something, because I smoke marijuana regularly. Marijuana makes you want to do a lot of things. Hanging yourself is not one of them. I be too busy in the kitchen making me a sandwich to think about hanging myself. I'll be ready to take a nap and eat me a hoagie, okay?
A hoagie? Oh, yeah, you are from wait a minute. I was going to say hoagie. That's funny.
Hoagie. But, I'm from over there.
Right. Listen, so... and then, third of all, Black people don't hang ourselves. That's not something that we do, right? Like that's and it seems as though even recently, let's say within the past, let's say month or two, there's been a lot of hangings, suicides of hangings that's been in the news. And every time I would see this art, I was like, do they actually think that we believe this?
Well, this is the thing. I've been telling people for years, like when I was touring and stuff like that, because I don't just tour New York City and Chicago and Miami and LA. You know, I go to
you've been
Mississippi.
Here before. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I go to Mississippi. I go to Alabama. Where you at again?
Miami.
Yeah. The last time I was in Miami, I was at the film festival they have every year. And Arts at St. John's. I did a show at Arts at St. John's. So I come through Miami, Fort Lauderdale, St. Petersburg. I'd be all up in through Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I've been telling people for a long time that because I have to do research on a lot of the places that I go, because a lot of places that I go are not where Black people are, let alone Black gay people. Black people ain't at a lot of places that I go.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have to go to Michigan. I have to go to Mississippi. I have to go to Alabama. I go to Kentucky. I go to Ohio. I go to Maine. I go to Tennessee. I go to places like that.
Mm-hmm.
And when we research, because I'm like, okay, what part of town do I need to stay in?
Mm-hmm.
Do I need to do this show and stay in another state? Because I've been places before. Yeah, I've been places before. Like I remember one time we went to, I think we were in Biloxi, Mississippi. Wow. And they said, they said it's probably not going to be safe, even though that's casino land and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
They said that it still probably would not be safe for me to be there. So we drove about 2 or 3 hours. We drove back to New Orleans so I could stay in New Orleans.
Whoa.
And we drove a few hours back to New Orleans, I know. And there have been places that have gone, even places like Chicago. Mm. And you would think Chicago's like super liberal, super this and that. Chicago, if you go to Boys Town, and again, this goes back to the point that I was talking about earlier about racism in the gay community.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Boys Town in Chicago is racist as fuck. Now, I used to perform in Chicago every year. I probably would have been performing there this year. But I've been performing in Chicago maybe for the last 10 or 12 years.
Wow.
And I would perform at this club called Sidetracks. Which Sidetracks was cool. They always allowed us to have events for, queer people of color there.
Mm-hmm.
And the group that brought me there, which was the Black Alphabet Film Festival, they were mostly cool.
Mm-hmm.
They were mostly cool, but we had one of the organizers pulled me aside and she said, I know you like to push the button in your comedy. I know you like to talk about things that, get people riled up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, this is not the place to do it at. Do not talk about racism in Chicago because you get to go home. We don't.
Oh, wow.
And so I said, that's the perfect reason for me to talk about it.
Right. Hey, did you get on stage and talk about racism?
I sure enough did. That was the first thing out my mouth when I got up on stage. First thing out my mouth, as soon as I got up on stage, I said, it is a lot of Black people up in here tonight.
Oh,
I said, they haven't seen this many Black people in Boys Town in God knows how long in one place. And I talked about it. And there were people who were afraid. There were people because, it was the whole thing. It was like, if you look at the news in Boys Town, it's always about some racist shit going on. Like there was a club that was down there that used to have hip hop night. And the owner said he didn't want them playing hip hop because it was violent, bringing in too many Black people.
Oh my God.
That's a real story that you can go Google.
Mm-hmm.
And
sounds about white.
Sounds about white. And so they had a protest. They said, okay, but we're not going to this club. And they told them, they said, we're not going to support this club. Don't give them any of your money. All it took was for that owner to issue a press release saying, I apologize to the Black community and we'll play all the hip hop you want. You can come in and make requests for this or that. And guess who was back in line that next Sunday? A bunch of niggas.
Oh my God.
It's so easy. And I wish that we supported our own community that easy. Now let a Black promoter come out and say, hey, I'm doing this party. Will we go? No. Right. You'll find everything wrong with it. Oh, I don't like where they're having it at. I don't like the colors of the flyer. The strippers are too skinny. The strippers are too fat. We find something wrong, but we go and we support these establishments where they really don't give a fuck about us. They just want money. At least if I'm going to be spending my money like that, I would like to invest it in my community. I would like to invest it in the community where I will see more things for us. So you go to Chicago, you go to certain parts of Dallas and Houston, and they have those issues, and they don't want you to talk about it, but we have to talk about it.
What's super sad about that is I actually have a really good friend who moved to Boys Town specifically last year, and the horror stories that he told me, because I didn't know because he's got a man now, but when he first moved, the horror stories because of the racism, I believe number one, I just automatically assumed that Chicago was just like, of course, kind of like another Atlanta. No, he completely burst that bubble. And then also, he moved from here.
Well, we can talk about Atlanta too, though, because everybody wants to move to Atlanta. Oh, I want to go to Atlanta, first of all.
It's the Black Hollywood.
It is the Black Hollywood, but see, that's Atlanta. If you ride about 10, 15 miles outside of Atlanta, you're going to be in Georgia. And you're going to see, and most of those places are places where some of those kids can afford to live, because a lot of those kids can't afford to live in downtown Atlanta.
Most of them don't live in downtown.
Most of them live in Dunwoody and, Decatur and all.
A lot of them live in Duluth.
Yeah, Duluth. You turn your jack going out Duluth, and it's going to be like Pokemon out there. And so Atlanta is another place. It's like, it's cool. I think it's great for opportunity. But again, people down there, they act so crazy that they ignore what goes on outside. And that's why, you can go down there, you can get you some good sex, you can get your dicks up, you can get this or that. But in a lot of those places, you can't get along. Because a lot of political shit is going on that still affects Black people. Now, say you down there, you have a really good social circle with some Black people. Yeah, but, if you go down there and you are, trying to come up on your own, you're going to have some issues.
Because the demographic there in Atlanta specifically is a large portion of it is Black and gay. Is that one of your most popular cities to go to travel to do your stand-up comedy in?
Atlanta has always been good. I mean, I like to hang out there. I will say, if I wasn't in LA, I would live in Atlanta. And if I lived in Atlanta, I would probably have too many boyfriends if I lived in Atlanta.
Oh, so you're one of those men. You're into polygamy.
I'm not into polygamy, but I've never had a problem attracting men. And so, Atlanta being the black mecca that it is, I would be in some trouble down there because I like men, and I like attention, and I get it when I go to Atlanta.
Not because you're a celebrity icon and star. No, because you're gorgeous, right?
I try to act like you not doing things that people like you because of that. I mean, duh. People get with you for the perks and stuff like that. I mean, you do hope that some of them actually do give a fuck about you too.
Right.
But, I also know that I know I look good and I know I'm dope. So,
listen,
Atlanta is one of those places. Atlanta is a place where we celebrate our sexuality. I'll say it like that.
That is literally the best statement about Atlanta that I've ever heard in my life. They celebrate their sexuality. I'll literally post it. But listen,
is where we celebrate our sexuality. I do think not just Atlanta, though, real quick, not just Atlanta. I think gay Black men in the South, period, carry their sexuality in a way that I don't see anywhere else. They carry it beautifully in a way that I don't see in LA, that I don't see in DC, that I don't see in New York. Like, Black gay men in the South, it's a bunch of hoes and stuff down there because, it's hoes everywhere. But
right.
you also see a lot of Black gay couples, and this is why I really enjoy my time in the South. You see more Black gay men who buy houses together, who own condominiums together, who have families together.
Yes.
And as much as, as much fun as it is to go to sex parties and be all on Jack and Grindr and running around and this and that, it's also good to have a stable home base, and the idea of having somebody who has your back. Because we might look good. I plan on looking good. I plan on looking like this when I turn 50.
I know that's right.
I think what a lot of us believe we're going to be young and stuff like that all of our lives. So we'd be out here doing all this crazy shit, and then when we finally turn 65, that's when we want to.
Then you want to slow down, right?
No, I want to look good and be with somebody that I know fucks with me for real, rocks with me for real, and we build a kingdom together. That's what I would like, but a lot of us don't have that mindset. We want to wait for somebody to do it by themselves. I mean, that's okay too, because there's a market for everything.
It really is.
But some people, we like to wait for people to do it, and then we want to latch on.
Right. Don't let everybody in the circle get married and stuff. It's like, wait a minute, I can't go to the club by myself. All of my best friends got married and got this and this together. Right.
Yeah, so I really enjoy when I go down south. You see so many gorgeous Black gay men that are in relationships and
that are healthy. They seem to be healthy, right?
I mean, healthy looks different for everybody.
Right.
So what might be healthy for one couple, me and you might not be able to deal with it. What might be healthy. Right. What might be healthy for us might be boring to somebody else, or it might be a little too exciting for you, so you don't know. But the fact that two people have found a way to make it work is all that matters.
Is key.
And you see a lot more of that in Dallas and Houston and Atlanta and different parts of like Florida and stuff like that. Oklahoma City, New Orleans.
Well, I noticed that you just sparked up, so I want to say this. I wanted to speak about this just really quickly. In one of your more recent videos that you uploaded on YouTube, which I think is so profound because this isn't my first project that I had. I had another project previously to the show, and I had an entire episode about how there really isn't any Black gay couples represented in Hollywood. We have let's say 10. Let's just say 10 Black gay celebrities in general, right? And I'm talking about from Bobby Lights, all the way to Billy Porter, right?
Yeah.
And when you
Bobby Lights.
Wait, hold up before you. Wait. I saw that video too. Hold on, pause. But listen, wait. What I'm saying is that I totally agree with you. Is that
Bobby Lights, okay.
No. I just wanted to show a spectrum. I said from Billy Porter all the way to Bobby Lights, right? You cannot think
Bobby Lights.
Oh God. You, Sam said, and then also the people that are listening to the show cannot think of two Black gay celebrity couples. Well, I'm so mad me saying Bobby Lights really got you close right now. I'm so upset. No, but it's really sad. It's really sad.
I actually think Bobby's cute. I like to fuck with Bobby Lights and I give him a hard time. I actually think he's cute, but he's a hot man. He's a hot ass mess, but I think he's cute though. He's a hot man. I'm hyping hot man.
So, what do you think? Right? Do you know him personally?
On OnlyFans.
Oh God!
We aren't buddies, but all of us. If you're a Black gay and you're in Hollywood or people know who you are, you kind of run in similar circles, but we're not buddies. But I talk shit about him. I don't have a problem with him. I just think he's messy.
You're a comedian, so you get away with so much stuff. Not just you, all comedians. Well, not what? Pause. No. Right? No. Wait. No. But before the era of accountability, right? Comedians got to say whatever.
Is it really accountability, or is it because it's not just accountability? I think a lot of people are bullies. I think a lot of people are too sensitive and unrealistic. It's like we live in this culture now where everybody has a microphone on the internet. And so in order to be seen themselves, they like to target other people and try to tear them down, whether you do something good or bad. Mm-hmm. You come out and you say, hey, I'm doing this. They're going to go and look on your Twitter. They're going to check out your Facebook. They're going to check out your this or that. They're going to Google you and all that to see if they can find any stones to throw at you. Mm-hmm. I don't agree with the current. I don't agree with cancel culture. I don't agree with any of it because it's bullshit.
I feel like the only time that cancel culture actually worked was against Chrisette Michelle, which is a black woman, right? Yeah. Which is a whole other conversation. And you want to know what? This goes back again to a point that I was making earlier. Chrisette Michelle, we wouldn't have had to worry about her going out singing for Donald Trump if the black community was supporting her the way we should have. 100%.
People do things because they need to eat. The lady had a mortgage. That lady had to eat. She needed, and people may not agree with it, but it's like it was only 12 people already showing up at her shows.
Right. So she really didn't have anything to lose, to be honest.
She did, but you still can't blame her.
Yeah, no, I didn't blame her. I understood.
I got it, but I mean, the thing is, we are so quick. We're quick to throw black women in show business under the bus anyway, especially if they don't aesthetically, they don't look a certain way. Like Monique is a prime example. Monique has always been black. She's always been for the black community. And, she said, hey, there are pay disparities going
right.
And she was having that conversation, not just for herself, but for and everybody wants to be in show business now. Everybody. Everybody wants to be in show business.
Everybody thinks there's art.
Everybody does. And so with that, you would think people would say, oh my God, I would like to have an opportunity to go into this business and possibly make that type of money too. Right. That's right. Let's support this. But instead of doing that, and a lot of the people who want to be in there, they don't have the look that would get them listened to either. Okay?
Right. I mean,
so you would think, and Monique is always saying, I'm a fat black woman, a loud fat black woman.
And that was her brand, and that will work.
I am a dark-skinned black man. Mm-hmm. I know that in our culture, traditionally, I mean, people fetishize us sexually, but traditionally, people have not looked at dark-skinned black men as sexual. Traditionally, we haven't been. We're fetishized as sexy. Right. But
it's typically that light-skinned guy.
Light skin with the pink lips and the good hair and the light eyes. That's what people like.
Yes. I'm not going to lie.
Dark skinned men typically have not been looked at as sexually desirable. We fetishize, like I want that black motherfucker I want that black motherfucker to come over here and fuck the shit out there or something like that. But it's never, that's who I'm trying to be booed up with.
Exactly.
People want to be booed up with it. And so people don't understand how much of that goes into also show business because it's marketability. Mm-hmm. And again, marketability comes down to what people find sexually desirable most of the time. Okay. And so Monique was saying, hey, this is an issue in show business. And I can attest to it because I used to tour with Monique. And Monique, the same things that she was saying on the Breakfast Club and all that type of stuff were the same things that she was doing when we were touring together. When we toured together, and for instance, one of the club promoters didn't give me my check. At the end of that tour, we had 5 shows together on one particular run of this tour. Mm-hmm. And she said, has he given you your check yet? I said, no. She said, why? I said, because he didn't give it to me last night. He just kept telling me, well, tomorrow. And she said, if you wait another day, you're not going to get that check. So I tell you this, before I go on stage tonight, I'm going to wait backstage until he writes your check, else I'm not going on stage.
Wow.
And she stood backstage and she made him write my check, and she made him give me extra.
Whoa! And wait, did he give you a reason as to why he was holding out?
A lot of club promoters do that. Say you don't have. See, my business is run independently. I'm not represented by a big agency or any of that right now.
Oh, okay.
I'm not represented by a big agency. My stuff is very mom and pop style. You know, it's me. I have an assistant. I have a security guard. I have somebody who does my media. I have somebody who runs my social media. It's about 5 or 6 of us.
I know that's right.
And everything is in-house. So I sign the checks. I pay everybody out of my pocket. I don't have a big agency right now who, you know, has me in some sort of machine. So if you are one of those people and you don't have a big machine behind you, they will try to fuck you up. They will try to make you wait. They will try to make you wait 4 months or 5 months or 6 months to get your check. And you need people who have to advocate for you sometimes, unless you're a big bitch yourself.
And I love the fact that you had Monique to advocate for you. That is monumental.
Monique.
So,
and it wasn't just me either. On Queens of Comedy, she was on Queens of Comedy back in the day. And this story is. I can say it because, I mean, she said it out loud before too, but Miss Laura, who was on the Queens of Comedy tour, was not getting paid. And so they were having a prayer circle before one of the shows. And during the prayer, Miss Laura said, I pray that they give me my money tonight. And Monique stopped the prayer and she said, they haven't paid you. She said, no. She said, we've gone to 5 cities or 6 cities. I haven't gotten my check yet. Monique said, I've gotten paid in every city. So why haven't they paid you? And at that time, they owed her about maybe $10,000 or $15,000.
That is ridiculous.
And she made them pay her before the show. So, I mean, what Monique is doing is people don't like the way she says it because she's very blunt. She just puts it out there. But if Beyonce was saying it, nobody would have anything to say.
Exactly. We'll all be rooting for her. Right?
If Rihanna was saying it, you know, nobody would have anything to say.
So, Mr. Sampson, you have had an illustrious 20-year career.
Yes.
Let's say in the next 5 years, no, let's say the next 3, 5 years is too long. In the next 3 years, where do you see yourself? What's next for Sampson? Oh my gosh, you're leaving.
I'm definitely going to be doing more television. I'm definitely going to be producing more films. I'm actually in the middle of producing. A really big film right now. Okay. And this is not made for YouTube. This is not any of that stuff. This is going to be huge. And we've already started the process of that. So that's going to be done soon. And it's
wait, can we get an exclusive? Can we get an exclusive here on Goops Gags and Tea?
We can't say anything about it.
Okay.
Dee, just make sure you keep up with me and you're going to look and you're going to be like, wow.
Okay.
I still do a lot of television, but I'm going to be doing a lot more mainstream television.
Okay.
And touring, you know, my whole purpose for being in this business is number one, because I appreciate the art form. That's number one.
Right.
And number two is because I think that having folks in this business who write and create and do all those things for us, it's political. It's social. It's a social obligation to make sure that we as Black men and as Black gay men are represented in a way that is authentic and mostly authentic. I'm going to just say authentic. You know, it can be funny, it can be dramatic, it can be, but I mean, of course, I'm always going to do stand-up comedy. Always. Right.
Which is, you are hilarious.
Thank you. I'm always going to do it.
Right.
You know, I'm never going to not do stand-up. I mean, maybe there may come a time where I'm not doing it as much as I'm doing it.
Right.
Because as I get, like, stand-up is a hustle. And But I'm never gonna not do comedy. I'm never gonna not do, like, I'm always gonna at least have some shows coming. Now, whether or not I'll be doing it all year and carrying on and all that, I don't know. But I'm always gonna be writing stories. I'm always gonna be creating. I'm always gonna be producing, adding social and political commentary. And, you know, y'all won't see me not on stage for too long. I'm always gonna get up there. But,
that's your first love. I'm assuming
it's always, yeah, it's, but things evolve. And as I get older, you know, comedy is, in some ways, it limits me because of the business.
Oh,
The business. Not because I'm not great at it, not because I don't, like, I am married to that business. I'm married to that art form. You know, if there's anything I've been committed to, it's that art form.
Right.
But there are also other avenues of artistic expression that I am needed in, and I'm going to be focusing on those areas too.
And I'm going to tell you right now that I am definitely waiting tooth and nail for those projects to come out. And I also
amazing projects.
Listen, everyone that's clearly still listening to this episode wants to know how to find you on all social medias. Please let them know how they can stalk you. Please.
Yes. So, you know, and I'm working on new stuff all the time. I've been using this time to just regroup. Because like I said, I've been doing this for a long time, and I just needed to slow down. So we did put out Church Boy, which is a new comedy special. We recorded
hilarious
it back in March.
Hilarious.
Yeah, we recorded that back in March, and we put it out last month for Pride and Juneteenth. And
smart, very smart.
Yeah, it was. I didn't want to put it out at first because so much was going on with George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, and people were angry. I thought it was a horrible time to put it out, but
horrible.
I thought it was a horrible time to put it out, but I also understood how important it was for us to also laugh.
Yes, and to get an escape. You know what? I also want to. I don't think I've ever publicly said this, but this is the first time I'm saying it. I actually wanted to drop this podcast June 1st. It's Pride Month, right? And because of all of that, the stuff that was happening around George Floyd and COVID, it was just so much the rioting. I just felt like the timing was so off. So if you're clearly a listener to the show, you clearly had to listen to what is the first episode, which is Prelude, Once Upon a Time. If you listen to that, you will hear me say, like, riots started, killings began, and I had no intention on making my show as theatrical as it is, right?
Yeah.
That story and the stories that I'm clearly creating now is started from that whole George Floyd situation. So I will say, as a creative, from creative to creative, I appreciate you for still dropping that comedy special, because I know it really did touch a lot of people and gave them a bit of escape. An escape that was necessary.
And a lot of people still, you know, are going to go look at it, you know, later.
Of course, yeah.
But I just thought that I needed to put that out, you know, and so people need to go. It's on YouTube. If you look it up on YouTube, Church Boy, Sampson McCormick, it's on there, and I think it's about 40 minutes long, so that's not too long.
It's really not. I listen to it coming back from work.
It's easily something that you could turn on Netflix and watch and crack up. And have a really good time watching. You know, I've gotten high. I got high with it myself. I had a great time looking at it. And I look at my stuff very objectively. I'm not one of I don't yes myself. I'm very hard on myself.
Me too.
So
perfectionist. Okay. Oh my God. Right.
So it's, you know, I don't put out garbage. So
you really don't.
And look at Church Boy, it's good. I also have another film that we shot a few months ago, and that I wrote, produced, called Party and Play. And Party and Play is on YouTube too. And it's another film. Laugh out loud, hilarious. You have a great time looking at it. We had some great actors in it, and the storyline is hilarious. It's a great storyline. And that's another film that's about 45 minutes long. So go on YouTube and look at Party and Play. It's a scripted film I wrote, and we put that out for Halloween last year. It's a comedy, drama, thriller. It's a multi-genre film. It's about 4 or 5 genres mixed together. So check that out on YouTube. And then, of course, follow me on Instagram at Sampson McCormick, SampsonMcCormick, and visit SampsonComedy.com.
Yes! Also, I want to thank you, Sampson, so much from literally the bottom of my heart. And I hope you feel my genuineness. I want to thank you so much for coming on my show and being my very first guest and being strong and representing and showing us how to motherfucking do it. Because you've been doing it for so long. So thank you so much for turning around and looking down and agreeing to be on my little show. I really do appreciate that. And that wraps up our second episode of Alphabet Club. You can definitely find me on GoopsGagsTea on Instagram and Facebook. You can also follow me on Instagram at Dee Will. That's DEEWILL. That's some extra, whatever. That's me. So thank you so much for listening to this episode. I will see you next week. Anything else before we go, Sampson?
Just be safe and wear the mask. Wash your hands. And
not to be safe for washing your hands.
Wash your hands and have good sex. That's important.
Oh my God. Okay, y'all. Thank you so much for listening. Bye. Peace, love, and Black queer creativity. Bye-bye.